Hey, Radical Ones! Welcome back to a new episode of the Radical Retro Rewind podcast. As always, I am your host, Radical Ryan Hunter, and today we have a special bonus interview with the cast and creators of The Great Nick D, which will be available exclusively on Blu-ray June 11th. And we welcome back to the show writer-director Ansel Faraj, actor and writer Nathan Wilson, and actress-producer Kelly Kitko. I had such an amazing time doing this interview, so I hope you enjoy it, and I hope you check out The Great Nick D on June 11th. And as always, it's time to get radical.
It's showtime.
What is this, trick-or-treat?
Did I do that?
Good morning, Charlie.
Sailor Moon, the champion of justice.
Daddy would have gotten us Uzis.
The power is yours.
Get down, honey, get down!
And look, I won't go far, okay? If the apocalypse comes, beat
Hold
me.
your fire! I'm a human!
My name is Grace Jones.
Thunder, 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 thundercast.
Power of 3 will set us free. Power of 3 will set us free. Power of 3 will set us free.
But I ain't one to gossip, so if anyone asks you, you ain't heard it from me. No, you have.
No more room in hell. The dead will walk here.
Rise from your grave.
Thank you all for being here.
Thank you so much for having us. This is awesome.
Yeah, thank you.
And I'm honored to have all three of you. So that's even more of a... I'm very happy about that. So I have to say, Ansel sent me a preview of this movie. And I was saying earlier that I honestly believe this will be a cult classic. I think people are going to be talking about this movie. And I just honestly can't wait for like the general audience to experience this film.
Yeah, we're super excited to get it out there as well, and just to get people to start watching it, and hopefully they pass it on to the next person and gets a whole wave going. Whole Nick Dick wave.
I would love it. I would love it. So this is The Great Nick D, and the movie's plot is described as a sweet-natured tale of redemption following a washed-up 90s porn star, now a Venice Beach nobody. Aw. But who gets a second chance to restart his mainstream acting career in order to win back the Oscar-nominated girlfriend from his past. Oh, okay. Yeah. So Ansel was here the last time, and he mentioned that this was an idea, I believe, that Nate, you had for years now.
Yeah, he's been around for probably about 14 years or so. I kind of came up with him at my cousin's theater in Long Beach through improv and things like that, and kind of kept evolving it over years and years and talking to it with friends and Ansel later on, and just kind of, just indulging in who this guy could be. I had kind of the personality, and just for some reason I got obsessed with him, his vocal, just like the way he moves and who this character is. And he's just always kind of been in there. And then about 10 years ago or so, I talked to Ansel about him and had this like character of this guy named Nick Dick, who's a washed up porn star in Venice. And then me and him just started talking over the years a little more and more. And then during COVID, we were like, you know what? Let's write this thing out. We've been talking about it forever. We were trying to do a podcast on it, or trying to do a web series on it.
Web series.
We were thinking about doing that. So we kind of had some of the script there, and then we took the same ideas from there. And then we were like, let's just make a movie. Let's just write it. Let's get it out there so we have something to work off of and a starting point to make something of this guy, to finally get him out there. So.
And once Nate bought the leopard print, there was no turning back.
That
was good.
What a look.
Yeah. So me and another cousin of mine made like a little short film of him, and we got the purple pants, the leopard shirt, like the leopard little coat from like a thrift store, and I've had that in my car for probably 10 or 11 years. It's just kind of sitting there. It's sitting in my closet, just kind of waiting. And we had Ansel's Razor scooter from when he was a kid.
Yeah.
And So yeah, so I've had that wardrobe just kind of sitting back waiting, and then when we do some videos or we go out and kind of play around with them, I'd throw it on and throw on a fake mustache, put on a hat, and away we go. Just go cruise around Venice.
You felt in character then.
Yeah, and like it's crazy because being in Venice, that's normal.
He blends in. Nobody pays attention to him. He's just part of the.
Yep, people might maybe do a couple of jokes
on the boardwalk.
Yeah, but nobody like thinks too much of it. You go by and they're like, oh yeah, well that's Venice. It's that guy just going by.
I'm hoping though this inspires like Halloween costumes.
Yeah.
And I mean today I was telling Ansel before the show that this was inspired by the movie. I try to pull flair out for you guys. Now correct me if I'm wrong. It says 70s, right? And because of budget reasons, you had to kind of rework the script to be the 90s. Although I feel like you're right on time with that because we are in 90s nostalgia now, I feel like.
Yeah. Well, I mean, our idea was that he was a porn star in the 70s. And Robert Redford was his nemesis. And then when we're like, okay, well, we're going to write a movie, we just, that's going to be really expensive to do a period piece in the 70s because it's,
I could imagine,
it's got to be authentic.
Yep.
So I said, well, what if it's in the 90s and Robert Redford is not the bad guy, it's Brad Pitt, because Brad Pitt and Robert Redford are the...
Yeah. So instead of making Robert Redford like his nemesis or the guy that does whatever to Nick Dick, let's make it Brad Pitt and let's have his hero be Robert Redford. Yeah.
That is just
so, and so let's just switch it around a little bit.
Which plays out in the movie.
Yeah, which does play out in the movie. So, just crazy concept. Like we've had so many stories still of like what we could do with him and the character and where could we take him. And this was the best version of all the stuff that we had in our head to put out a full length feature to be like, this is him right now. This is what he's going through. This is the story we want to tell and not these other side little stories.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So this includes so much 90s nostalgia that there is actually VHS tapes and scenes from the movies, which we won't spoil here. You have to see them. They are hysterical. They are amazing, beautifully shot. And off camera, Kelly was saying that she keeps mementos from, past movies that you have done together. So I'm hoping those VHS covers are somewhere safe.
I was going to say, actually, one of the reasons the guys keep me around is because, as you can tell from my background, I'm a little bit of a hoarder. And so when they're like, do you happen to have VHS tapes left around? I'm like, hold on, wait 10 seconds. And I have them like right behind this. So yeah, there are a lot of little 90s tidbits that we didn't have to order or buy because they're mostly in my garage.
That is amazing.
Sift through Kelly's garage to find whatever you want. Yeah.
And now they're Easter eggs. Hey, that was Kelly's. This was Kelly's.
I think they're stacked away pretty well.
Yeah, I have the porn tapes. I have the Nick Dick collection on.
Oh, I'm
VHS.
so glad.
Because I made the poster that's got all the tapes. The teaser poster. The different movies, and so I had to keep the tapes to do the poster. And the phallus of the opera and great ejaculations.
Oh my!
The spaghetti western.
It gives a whole new meaning to Dickens.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. One 90s prop that I think I don't think made it into the final. There was a bit with it, but I don't think it made it unless it's in the background somewhere. I was a little sad that my Thigh Master didn't have a more prominent
yeah.
But it was in there. It was in there.
Was it in there?
Yeah, it's in Doug. It's in the
apartment.
Yeah,
it is in the apartment.
It's in the apartment, yeah.
90s flashbacks, yeah. You see it in the corner.
In the back corner.
So it is in the movie then.
It's in the movie, but there was a part where the actress who plays Faye was supposed to pick it up and do something with it, and that part didn't make it. But I was happy that it was at least in the corner. So yeah.
Well, it
justifies my hoarding, Ryan.
That's right. That is so true. I mean, as someone who collects things, and I feel like I am definitely a hoarder. It doesn't look like back here, but just go around the corner. I totally feel you on that. And I love, though, that you are collecting mementos and adding to the ones you have already. Mm-hmm. So that's amazing. Yeah,
and we had the little small TV with the VHS player in in
No,
my
it was a
apartment
TV
as well.
with the
With
VHS player by itself.
by
Yeah,
itself.
yeah, and the phone and
Yep,
all
and the phone that she uses. Yeah, all this stuff was in the 90s.
So was that like Goodwill find some of those, or was it all Kelly's too?
No, some of it came from the TV is.
I think Doug
The
had a
TV was
TV.
Doug had a TV
Yeah.
with a VHS player in it, and I think we rented the phone.
Yeah,
That was like one of the only things we rented.
yeah,
Well, that and then
the stretcher,
the stretcher exercise,
the
chest stretcher.
That is so funny. I actually just saw one of those in a store recently, and I'm like, when is the last time you've seen one of these? Besides in the movie.
Can't imagine that was the thing where they're like, let's put springs, and then you just sit there and do this.
Yeah,
or
my
do
dad
whatever.
had one, and I thought we still had it, and we didn't have.
Yeah.
Oh, I got rid of it.
Yeah,
I think it for the movie.
Grandfather and grandmother had one as well back in the day.
Yeah.
Like they had a trampoline. They had like one old exercise bike that they never used. It just like sat in the corner, and I think they had one of those in the basement too.
Now we have the shake weights, which Nick Dick would approve of.
Oh, I would approve of that.
Oh my goodness, I have one of those somewhere. You're so embarrassing.
Yeah, it was like the
You don't
biggest
wanna
gag gift ever. We should have.
Oh my God.
We should have got one of those and put it next one. The next one we'll have one of those.
The 90s flashbacks, again, I just want to get the nostalgia out there for our listeners who enjoy that. The difference, even in, I feel like the way it was shot, it's so bright and happy, and it feels like you are transported there. It doesn't feel like you are, in a 90s spoof.
Right.
You know, maybe it was those authentic pieces that help add to the whole set, but if for any listeners out there that want to have a throwback to that, you get that in this movie.
Yep.
Yeah. It was more. Robert Murphy was our cinematographer, and he helped out a lot with the look as well, and more of the filters, and then the color correction to kind of
and like the style of it. Like I said with him, I gave him Robert Altman's Shortcuts, which is 1992, 93. I see, that's that. If we get that look and that aesthetic, that will feel like, okay, you're watching a piece of footage from the 90s rather than, as you said, like spoofing it and trying to make a thing of it. Just make it, like it's authentic 90s footage.
Yeah.
So it was a bit of that. It's a bit of the art direction.
Yeah, and like we wanted it to feel, in a sense, almost like the best times of his life. And almost maybe kind of like a dream. So it's a little brighter. It's a little more happy. These are his like good memories that he's having throughout the movie. It's good or bad or whatever you want, but it's that nostalgia and dream-like quality.
It's cleaner.
His life when he was younger and had those dreams of doing that when life was good. You know what I mean? When life was great and grand and his better moments of his life.
And I feel like that definitely, the character can appeal to so many people with that. The people who have dreams that didn't make it, unrequited love, which I feel like that's another theme I feel like with, past movies that come back, like Will and Liz, I feel like unrequited love is something that everyone can totally understand about. And there's so much heart in this character and these other characters, the side characters in this movie. It's fantastic.
Yeah. Everybody did, all the actresses and actors and everybody did such an amazing job with bringing these characters to life and like bringing what we had written out there and giving them a real life, giving them heart. Taking even further than we even expected. So it was great to
and it's
have
a very
that
big cast. It's very, like
our biggest cast. Yeah, for sure.
It's like almost like 50 people, like if you count them all up.
Yeah.
There was a lot more that got cut because it was nearly a 3-hour film. And then we had to whittle it down to 95 minutes.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I don't know if I was supposed to like let that cat out of the bag or not, but there are so many things that, when you're talking about like the nostalgia and then the present day and the story, there's so many things that did get cut for length that I wish almost could like exist in their own world, because there were so many like good characters or good pieces of the story that were fantastic as filmed, but it's like, if you have to get down to a 90-minute cut, what fits, what do you need? And as usual, like some of our favorite things end up on the cutting room floor just for the sake of presenting a full story. And it's like, oh, I still remember some of those little bits and some of those, some of our friends and actors who were fantastic in what they brought. So You know,
I did the math of it, and you could do an 8-episode, 25-minute series of just like what we shot. Like it would work out with everything that we shot, because there was a lot.
Yeah, because
there was a lot.
There we had extra scenes with Freddie Van Rosen. We had a lot more scenes at his dad's house. That we had to cut out. Like there was
the
agency. We had headshots. Like there's a bunch of stuff.
Every scene that is in the movie, something got cut from. There was so much that we shot. So
just to get it down. So it's just a 90-minute movie, a little over 90 minutes, so people can digest it and soak in it and for long enough and not be too much.
But the Blu-ray's got deleted scenes, so you get
that is what I was just gonna ask. Because the last time, Ansel, you were saying, and I was asking you like how do you feel about cutting scenes and things like that the last time you were here, but could we potentially in the future have the extended cut?
So we were going to put that on the Blu-ray, but then in the end we decided not to.
It only would have been 10 minutes longer. It wouldn't have been
not the whole thing.
So maybe if we do a sequel,
if people love it that much, if people love it that much to where they want to see that much more, we would totally release it and be like, all right, if you love them that much and you want to see this whole extended version of a 2.5-hour movie,
just the Lord of the Rings version.
We'll give you the deleted scenes and everything put back together so you can sit in the great Nick D world.
Sit on the beach.
Yeah.
There was so much of the beach.
Venice Beach, which we spoke about the last time, the love letters to Venice Beach and that beautiful scenery.
Yeah. Last time I was on, we were still shooting the movie. So we were in the thick of it.
Wow.
Yeah.
It was about 7-8 months ago, I want to say.
Yeah.
Time flies.
Mm-hmm. We love having Venice as its own little character in our movies. I think I always say, like, I want to know who's shot more in Venice Beach, California than us in film. And I'd like to know, we probably shot about 4 or 5 movies there and some short movies as well. So we've been there.
We get the record.
Love it there. Yeah.
So I wanted to ask Kelly and Nate with your relationship with Dark Shadows, because famously, of course, we know Ansel's love of Dark Shadows, and of course now the two of you have worked with the actors now countless amount of times. So did you have an idea of the show prior to Ansel coming into your world?
I'm going to tell you right now, I've never seen an episode of Dark Shadows.
Okay.
And I don't really intend for that to change.
It's very daunting, I could imagine.
There's nothing against it or whatever, but I don't know. I don't, those folks have become our friends and they're in this world, and I don't want to know about that. I don't know. It's like it's a different world that I'm not a part of, and this is the world that we're in together.
Didn't you see Night of Dark Shadows with David? Didn't you watch that one?
I'm sure you sent it to me and ordered me to watch it, and I didn't do it.
Oh, you didn't?
No, I have never seen it.
I've actually been watching some the 1897 the past month or so. Like I watched a couple with Catherine when we were going to do Dr. Mabuse, just to kind of be like, oh, this is Dark Shadows, and I watched it from the beginning. Maybe 7 or 8 episodes at that time, and then kind of stopped. And then now been watching the 1897 version with everybody, with Selby, and Jerry Lacey, and everybody's kind of in there now.
Yeah.
But so it's interesting to see, because they're more of my friends now, and then now to see David Selby up there doing his stuff, and to see him, think of him back in the day, and doing that, and Jerry Lacey, and then Catherine, it's just I get it, and it's weird to see them doing that now, and it's fun to watch them kind of, not their prime, but when they were coming up and in the beginning. It's interesting to watch.
I will tell you
go through it.
I was going to say a secret, but I guess it's not going to be a secret after I announce it on a national podcast. But the only thing that I've ever seen David in, historically speaking, because Ansel knew David before I did, and the first thing that we were going to do together was Loon Lake. And there was a, romantic scene, for lack of a better word. And so the one thing that I did watch for research purposes was David was in an episode of The Waltons. and where he plays a character who tries to tempt the mother, Olivia or Walton, whatever, away from the family, and she has to be a good family woman or whatever. And I was like, oh, I should watch this. And I watched it, and at first I didn't recognize him, so that was very disconcerting. And then when it came to be, when I was with him in person, I couldn't tell the difference. I don't know how to explain it, but I don't know. I think I see I have a hard time understanding age. I have a hard time telling people apart. I still to this day can't tell apart Robert De Niro and Al Pacino. And to me, watching that, and that was more than 40 years ago. It was the same person. There was no difference. So that's the only thing that I've seen of them, out of the present day time period.
You haven't seen Social Network yet? Huh?
No.
You can see that.
No.
That's a movie now. Oh my goodness. How was that? About 10 years now?
2010 it came out.
That's crazy. Yeah, that's nuts.
Well, now that Loon Lake came up, I love that movie, the atmosphere. I was telling Ansel the last time that he was on, it is just a beautifully shot movie. And so working with David now, as you were mentioning, you had this scene with him as Mary the Witch. And now in this movie, you are now playing his wife. So what a difference and what a relationship you have with him between these two movies. There's clearly passion. Yeah. He has passion for you in both. But how is that? How is that working with the difference in the characters?
In a way, this is going to sound weird. In a way, they're the same.
Okay.
How do I explain this without sounding crazy? I'm neither Mary Jane nor Starla, and yet I am both. They're all me. They were both, to my knowledge, written for me, and there's a part of me that's in both of them. And so the part of me that's with David, is the same.
Yeah.
So the passion between Mary Jane and Pastor Jansen, and there's a scene that got cut from Nick D, which, we wanted to show essentially Starla and Jim are what Nick D wishes that he had, the relationship that he wants that he, does not have. And so we wanted to not just have the fun party scene, but the scene the next morning where we're making breakfast and you can see how much they're really in love and they're a family and they're this and that and whatever. And that scene got cut, but it's, it's all the same emotion. It's all the same.
Is that in the?
It's on the Blu-ray.
The Blu-ray.
Oh, I'm excited.
Yeah, it was a good scene, but another one that had to get cut. It's crazy.
That's the special thing. That Starla, I don't know how long technically the character is on screen for, but you are so memorable. Every character is just so memorable in their way. For days afterwards, I was saying pinata, so it's.
Oh wait, hold on! I have to show you something. Hold on, I'm sorry.
Oh my goodness,
she's still got it.
Do you have the pinata?
Oh, there it is.
Oh, this is amazing. I'm honored.
I should have put this.
Oh, you should have.
Oh my goodness. He's still stay there.
He made it through.
He lives in my living room, but he's just on that side, so you couldn't see him. Here he is. He's still here.
Yep, he's still there. She still hasn't gotten him.
Yeah, no, I still haven't gotten him.
Maybe the sequel?
Maybe.
That's why I think that scene is really sweet to me, because you can tell they're in love. It's not just this, age difference where he wanted to go after someone who was younger than him. There's a love between the characters that I felt in the scene.
Yeah.
I'm glad that you felt that.
Yeah. And that's kind of what we when writing this, like that's what we wanted.
Yeah,
Throughout all the characters was
Yeah.
like we wanted Nick and his dad to have a good relationship. We don't want them to be fighting. We don't want them any bad blood there. They grew up like best friends and they
Yeah.
were buddies. Whatever happened to the mother, and like and him with Starla, like Nick's dad and Starla, Jim. They have a good relationship as well. No matter it's crazy and weird and how big of characters they are and whatever's going on.
They probably have the healthiest relationship out of everybody in the whole movie.
Yeah.
I wish I had that. It looked very fun.
Truck driver and a stripper, like, you know, they're match made in heaven.
Yeah, and they're like in love, living up
And
wherever, and having the best time of his
He's
life.
gonna, you know, do anything he can for. He hasn't slept in 2 weeks planning this birthday party, and he's gonna make a golf course in the backyard for her. 'Cause, you know,
he'll do whatever. Yeah,
oh, she'll love it. But
so it's great to like have those. Well, and then the actors come in and do it, but they have these weird characters, but everybody is in love. Nobody's hating each other. Everybody's having fun and just having a good time.
And something, I mean, you touch on it, Ryan, when you started that question of like, yeah, in Loon Lake, Kelly and David were antagonists. They don't have a good relationship. So
yeah,
it's fun to invert all that and make them like the perfect couple.
Yeah.
Is Starla and
That's
Jim.
what I thought of instantly. Like, what a difference. My goodness.
Yeah. The toying with him too, and now they're in love.
Yeah, when we were shooting Loon Lake, we were telling David all about this and the
Yeah.
character and
yeah, because David's always like, "What's next? What are we doing next?" Like even when we picked up David to go shoot these scenes, he was like, "All right, what are we doing next? What's the next scene we're doing?" And I'm like, "Well, let's just shoot this stuff first, and then let's deal with that later. Let's go get through these couple days of shooting the great Nick D before we start discussing other stuff." But he was asking the same thing on Loon Lake, and we were talking about this film.
Yeah.
I would like to add, because Nate said, and I think Ryan used a similar phrase of like, we have these weird characters and we
or
do,
centric.
but it was important to me, and one of the things that we discussed for a very long time before filming was this needs to 100% be grounded in reality. This is not going to be some kind of like slapstick comedy with whatever. Like, it's a movie that has heart, and the characters all have to be real humans,
grounded,
and not just like having one-liners to be funny or this or that or whatever. Like the spirit and the heart of it is only going to come through if the people are real. So, you know, Starla and Jim, none of the scenes from here made it in the movie, right? So he doesn't know that like this is.
No.
Now seeing it twice now and seeing these characters now, I feel jealous that I didn't get to see more of these characters.
Get the Blu-ray.
I hope definitely. Definitely.
But yeah, so that's like with
it was never going to be a cartoon.
Yeah,
and that was we kind of knew. I mean, the script was not written as a cartoon.
No, but like when I was doing little TikTok videos and we were kind of doing that,
it was larger
Instagram,
than life.
It was larger than life because we only have like a minute or so to like fix your attention and like be big characters.
And it was just Nick. It was just Nick by himself. We never got his ensemble.
Yep.
But
so then when we came in to do the whole movie, that was a big discussion that we had with Kelly and Ansel and myself of this needs to be real. Like to sit with Nick for an hour and a half, like you can't, like Kelly said, have all these just little bits and one-liners and all this stuff. It needs to be heartfelt and like you're gonna need to watch him the whole time.
Yeah.
And not just be bored with him in 20 minutes because
or
else.
can't put up with him because he's so like
right.
Yeah, because just with his clothes and his demeanor and all of that stuff is big enough. You know, you don't need to take him to another level.
Yeah, and then also dealing with because we never talk about porn in the TikToks and in the shorts, but like here, this is a crucial part of his DNA and a crucial part of the story. This guy is a porn star or washed up porn star, so. Even with that, like that also, we needed it to be real and needed it to not be aggressive and gross and like it's sexually funny. And so to keep it in check and keep it.
It's part of who he is, but let's not discuss all of the stuff that is about this. It's more about him and his past and his relationship.
Picking up his broken pieces of
broken pieces of being more of just like a partier than and hanging out and having fun than the porn stuff.
Also,
and
where did
the
it
destruction
go wrong?
of him?
Where did it go wrong?
Yeah.
So all of that sort of dictated the tone of it not being
Yeah, the porn stuff is just a side note,
an
and let's
aggressive
touch on it.
cartoon.
And it's a little fun. We can sprinkle a little fun on it, but then let's get off of it as soon as possible and get back into who he is and what's
I
going on.
will say that one of the things that Nate, I think, did really well was the adult. Well, I guess they're both adults. The present day Nick,
yes,
was conceptualized before young Nick was.
Ooh.
And so then you've got the same actor playing Nick D, present day, who had this character has already been developed. But then when you go back to the 90s, it has to be believable that this man 20 years later is this man. It can't be Nate Wilson as a 25-year-old. It can't be whatever. So how do you kind of reverse engineer and go back in time and have a character who, you believe there's that inkling, there's that whatever, that through this series of factors in his life and choices that he's made and whatever becomes this character. And that has to be believable. So that was something I know, Nate worked on.
Yeah, that took me a little bit to figure all that out, and with more discussions with Kelly and Ansel as well, and myself of trying to figure it out of I did have this bigger, larger than life character, and then, all right, where was he when he was,
reverse engineer it.
How was he when he was 21 or however 22 or however old he was in the past, and how much twang did he have at that time? Because now he has this thick accent that he's created this persona and this character. How much of that did he have before or not? Or how innocent was he or not? How kind was he?
And it has to be believable that he was with Faye Davenport. We introduced these two together as a couple. And this woman is very, beautiful and put together and an actress and all these things who's going to become Oscar nominated and blah, blah, blah. So you have to believe that these two are a couple and that they love each other.
Yes.
And that can't be potbelly Nick D just 20 years before being with the bottle and whatever, because then it's not believable that Faye and Nicholas live together and love each other. So there are all these factors that Nate kind of had to meld together to create this world so that each portion standing alone is believable and exists, but also put together is believable in the timeline.
That's beautiful. And it
was a lot.
If Kelly hadn't said that, I don't think most listeners would realize that, you're taking the character and you actually went back like that.
Yeah.
So that is amazing to do. And I love that. So now this is something to look forward to on my next viewing.
Rewatch.
To see again the nuances.
All the thought that went into every character and all this nobody thinks about that. No, you just take it for granted of, well, it's just the movie.
This is the way it is.
Yeah.
How it works.
Yeah.
It's more challenging, especially we normally do thrillers and sort of fantasies, and this is a real life story. This is grounded in reality, so it's got to be like Will and Liz. We know what reality is like. We live in reality, so it's got to be that much more authentic and that much more believable, because at any moment, if it's not, well, then the audience is going to buy out.
Yeah,
and
then
they're no longer
on his journey.
hooked in and no longer care. Well, this is just, I can't believe that. So all that thought and work and mental energy goes into.
There's a lot going on in these movies that are behind the scenes that you'd never think about unless you're in the industry and can see that. You'd never think about.
But in a way, Ryan, it's good that you didn't call that out or latch onto it, because if you did, then it would be oh, we did something wrong. If you're noticing, if nobody noticed it and nobody called it out, then it worked.
Yeah.
So in order to make it work, there was a lot that went into making it.
Yeah, the magic trick of hiding all that and not showing the scenes and the thought process behind all of it. It's a lot. It's a lot.
And just to go back to something, I think that is the charm, that it is not a wacky, over the top, because I'm not a wacky comedy person by any means. And it is so grounded in reality. And so when one-liners, and Catherine Lee Scott's one-liners in this movie are hysterical. So when you get one-liners, you're just laughing so hard over them because you're in this man's life and you're seeing his day-to-day struggles. So the humor is sprinkled in fantastically.
Yeah, and that's fun that me and Ansel had, or Ansel even more, because he knew Catherine or watched Catherine from Dark Shadow days, was that to give her a role like this and have her
the furthest from sweet Maggie Evans working at the diner to being like this tough as nails, take no prisoners, take no shit,
no spandex,
and then, spandex.
And to also like to see her, because Catherine is so nice and so supportive of us, and so then to watch her and Nate, butt heads, and she played his mom in The Rising Light, so our sci-fi movie, and so to again invert things.
Yeah, and then now to have her across from me, and we're kind of battling each other, and I'm like bringing this recklessness into her life, and compared to what we have done in other movies, it was just fun to be able to play with her in that sense, in a whole different.
Even get her, when she cusses occasionally.
Oh my goodness, it's so
fun because it's like so not Catherine.
I mean, just from, like you're saying, just from Maggie Evans, but even interviews over the years, seeing her like that is hysterical. And it seems like she was having a blast when she was doing it.
It's a good role. It's a good strong role,
and she brought it every day. She was amazing. She did such a great job
with her butting heads with O-Lan Jones, who plays Phyllis.
My goodness,
she was. Amazing how we got her, and that she decided to be in the movie, which was fantastic. And then we show up on the day of shooting, and she brought so much to the role that we never expected. Like that, we were just like, oh my god, and then just like when she would come up to me, I'm just like, oh yeah, I do feel pretty good right now. Like she is really hyping me up. Like
your biggest fan.
Like, she really loves me. Yeah, she was fantastic.
So that's perfect setup. Did you reach out to her, or did she audition for this, or did she hear about this through the grapevine?
I had seen her and David Selby do A Delicate Balance, which is a very heavy, dark Edward Albee play in LA, and it was a really great show. And so I met her after the show, and we stayed. This was 10 years ago, and stayed in touch.
Wow!
Always wanted to work with
those
her.
relationships.
So then we were trying to cast, and we were like, "Who are we going to get?" We were trying to cast, and the people that we were doing really weren't working out. And then finally, this was like maybe a couple months into shooting.
Yeah, because
we still haven't cast the role.
That's the thing
yet.
Is we leapfrogged the movie, so we would shoot, and then we'd prep, and we'd shoot, and we'd prep, and in for the 7 months of shooting, because it was April to September. So we would be casting for roles in advance of,
a couple of weeks before we would be shooting the scene or more.
Phyllis we weren't shooting her till June. So then like in May,
maybe,
I was like, oh my God, wait, what about O-Lan? Like I've always wanted to have, it was just like the light bulb went off. I've always wanted to have O-Lan, something she's so cool and stuff.
Yeah. So then Ansel reached out to her and pitched it to her, and she was like, "Yeah, I'd love to do this.
That sounds fun."
Like, oh my god, amazing! This is gonna be like it just kept from the beginning to the end, like just the casting and the locations that we got. Everything just kept building upon itself to be able to get what we got. It was fantastic.
Yeah. So then you have
watch that
Catherine and O-Lan, and then George Russell plays Ned, the son.
Yeah,
like in the room in the agency together, and they're just like they are these characters. There is no, which is what a great actor should do, is they become these people. But for us, after 10 years of talking about these characters and these people, to see them brought to life by three very gifted actors, it was just like, oh, this is cool. This is a nice day.
Yes,
it has to be so rewarding. I can only imagine.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's crazy to see what you wrote. And people coming in and then doing your lines and like saying it a little different, or kind of how you always kind of pictured it, or maybe not, or doing little gestures that you never had even thought of to like bring more life.
Because O-Lan was coming up with ideas and things that she wanted to do.
Yeah, so it was great.
Yeah,
she's fantastic.
Oh wow, that's.
I mean, the other example of that I think is Matt Anderson, who, you write something on a page. And then when the actor comes and brings their personality and their take, which is what makes it, as you said, you're watching it and there are these like iconic moments, even if someone's in it for a very short period of time, it's memorable. And to me, that's what Matt did. He was the other actor, Johnny Richardson, in the audition scene, who's kind of like, talking up Nick D and making him nervous.
Yes.
His audition. And just the personality and the mannerisms that he brought to that. Like the lines were on the page, but that personality is what Matt brought to that, which is not Matt's personality. Like that is,
that's a performance. That's a great
performance. Then wow,
Matt would do something, but didn't know what it was, and then he comes out with, and it's like, oh my gosh,
and
like
he has this laugh and just this personality, a little swagger and smarminess to him. It's like, oh my god, yeah. So that's my cousin. They have the Garage Theater in Long Beach, so that's kind of where the idea of Nick D originated. Was in his theater. So so we gave them props.
A full circle moment then.
Yep, and then to have him come up and then to do what he did and give him this role, and because he just did a play down there, which I wanted to go see and I never got to see it. I guess he was playing kind of a little schmarmier character, so it was already kind of in there, but then he brought this and even heightened it even more to create that guy.
Total Snake.
Yep,
as that guy, and the way that he'd leer, and also it's so great because there's visual similarities where they both have that long blonde hair and stuff.
Yes.
But John Richardson is just suave and just the way he's put together and
very confident.
Nick in that suit, and it's like the two sides of the same coin of like the bad guy, good guy. And,
we told him when we gave him to it, like he's kind of the villain of of Nick Dick being in there. Like he's wondering who this guy is, and he doesn't like him. But
who's his competition?
Yes. So he also killed it, and along with Justin Dre as Freddie Van Rosen.
I love the names, by the way. I love every character's names.
Johnny Richardson, Freddie Van Rosen,
Freddie Van Rosen, and Aunt Judy.
Oh, Aunt Judy. Lisa Blake Richards.
Yes.
I don't like that man in the hat. Now that was another quote that
came up
stood
with
out
that
to me.
She improvised that line that day.
Yeah, that was Lisa.
Like, perfect. Fit her perfectly.
Yeah,
it was amazing.
That was great.
That was my favorite character when we were writing the script. Like we would get to that part, and I'd just be howling. Right.
Because for this, we're always like writing it. We're like, all right, let's take him and let's put him in just ridiculous circumstances. What's the most funniest, weird, interesting place we can set him to have a fun scene?
And that was also the one moment where we could go a little cartoonish and a little larger than life, because now we are acknowledging the porn and the weirdness of it.
And then let's get into it with like the girls in the basement.
But also like still based in reality. Because you live in New York, whatever. If you've lived in the Valley, and I've been in enough movies where I've inadvertently been like, oh yeah, we're filming on a porn set. Just realized that. Like what the truth is of that situation, and the truth of Freddie 20 years later, that he's still living in the basement, he's still working in the basement, he's still Aunt Judy is there doing her thing, like, and the girls who come up, like, it's wild, but it's all true.
It's still believable. Justin still comes from a truthful place. Like, you definitely believe that
he's making art and he wants to go at it again.
This is his producer
Nick
buddy.
Was his star.
Yep, they would work together.
And again, there was so much that got cut from that. There was so much. It's all on the Blu-ray. But
I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, it was a lot.
You mentioned The Office earlier with Catherine Lee Scott's character. Love the little callbacks to past movies with the posters. And Ansel's cameo, by the way. I love that.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Is that the first
time?
Oh,
when I'm in cinematographer. Yeah, in a commercial.
Yeah.
No, I walked past Nate and Will and Liz.
Right.
I had two. There was another one, and that's the one I automatically think of. It got cut. There was a scene, they were walking through a sketchy neighborhood, I was this homeless guy, and I had a bottle, and I throw the bottle, and it got cut.
Yeah,
that's what, when you see cameo, that's what I think of. But yeah, I'm the cinematographer in the commercial scene.
Yep.
Well, now that one just now sounds like it steals the show.
Yeah,
the
and
cameos.
walked through a bottle. We were
we
in
were in a
downtown
sketchy
LA in the
side of
sketchy
downtown.
area to film this scene,
Yeah.
and we were trying to get out of there as quick as possible. And then we finally got it.
And we cut it.
But then we cut it. And it's like, oh my god, it took us like
You risked your
30
life for
minutes
no
to find this
reason.
location. And then it was yes, exactly. But it's on the Blu-ray.
Yeah,
Maybe.
it is on the
It's
Blu-ray.
on the
It is
Blu-ray, so it exists.
We almost got shot. It's going on the Blu-ray.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh no!
But
yeah, it was a pretty shady
interesting.
neighborhood. We had
It
a
was
drone. Yeah, so we had a drone that I don't know. We were outside of this building. All of a sudden, this drone came while we were filming and just hovered above us.
Yeah,
and we're like, "What is going on?" I don't know if it was a security guy from the building next door was like watching us see what we were doing. So we sat there and then waited for it to went up higher and
because we couldn't record sound because you had the zzz of the propellers, like
yep,
you know.
and then finally it went away, and we were like, "Okay, it went away," because we were like, "Let's just
go.
outwait them. If we just sit here, the drone's gonna leave sooner or later." So we sat there for like 10 minutes waiting, and then finally it left, and then we shot like two more, and we got it, and then we like
there was like some gangbangers that
Yeah,
came
we were
over.
like-
They
and it
wanted
was-
to be in the movie. It was an interesting day.
Yeah, they drove by. And it's like, "Oh, you guys shooting? Yep. Can we be in it?" And then it was Doug's last day too, and we like wanted to hang out with him for a second. We're just like, "All right, Doug, thanks a lot. It was great. We'll talk to you later. Get the hell out of here. See ya." Okay.
Doug
Great
plays
working.
Doug plays Aldo, Nick Dick's silent sidekick. That eats corn nuts and
That was a choice. So he stands out even though he is
Yeah.
silent, like you're saying.
Yep. Yeah, he was always a sidekick character from the way beginning.
Yeah.
And he did such an amazing job as well of just being his buddy that never talks and eats corn nuts.
And all his facial reactions and it's
Everything.
just he
He did
brings
such a
so
good
much
job.
and he does it very subtly, but it's like there's a whole guy that's like going on there. And,
Yeah.
And
It's his best buddy. He's hung out with him forever. You get that. You feel that. Like he protects Nick.
Yeah.
You get that. You feel that. There's also a couple other scenes that were cut with him in it that in the end of the first scene on the beach that we had extended that he was talking to Aldo a little bit more, but we just had to cut it.
Yeah.
So he was debating on what he should do and kind of trying to get Aldo's advice and talking back and forth between himself, but like Aldo sitting there nodding and kind of like, mm-hmm. But we cut that too.
There was a lot.
But it's probably on the Blu-ray.
Yeah, I don't remember. I think it is. I think it is. There's a scene he got to go to the agency and annoyed the hell out of Catherine.
Yeah.
I could
that was-
only
that was a-
imagine.
That scene
That was a fun
actually
one.
hurt me to cut, but I was like, it has to go.
Yeah.
That is on the Blu-ray. But
I hope so.
Yep.
The
Blu-ray.
hype for this Blu-ray is very real right now.
Big right now.
Last time Ansel was here, I was able to catch up. I did a deep dive. I mean, I pretty much try to watch everything. But then afterwards, I actually got, and I have the copy here, The Nighttime Winds.
it's signed.
I was very lucky enough. So just to bring this movie up really quickly, by the way, it's black and white. I am a huge ambiance person, so the atmosphere and this set, which from research, it was a hotel.
Some of it was.
Was that staircase?
Yeah.
Oh my! It was gorgeous. We have Kelly in that movie as one of the main stars, one of the sisters. Sheila, I want to say, is her name. We have Nathan as old Jonas Bishop, and the makeup work that is done is so very impressive to me.
Yeah, she did a great job. I mean, it took like 3 hours to get into it.
Yeah.
And then I always thought it was going to be like 30 or 40 minutes to get out of it. And it was like another 2 hours. And
Yeah, no, it was not.
I was like, it awesome.
Not that. I knew it wasn't going to be 10 minutes to get out of that.
I thought I could just like pull it off. And they're like, no, you cannot pull this
there's a
off.
whole
Like it was like gum
thing.
and like it was like stuck to my face. Yeah, it was
And
a
the
whole
bald
thing.
cap and the contacts. There was a lot.
There was a lot to that. But it was fun.
Did you try to shoot all of those scenes then in one big chunk?
Yeah.
And then she had to mutilate him too, because then he was like,
yes.
dead. So there was like a whole other extra layer of makeup after
we shot
all the living old man Jonas stuff, him creeping around in the dark.
Mm-hmm.
And,
Which
we did that whole movie in 12 days.
12 days.
It was very, fast. Shoot.
I was only there a couple of days.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we went to Riverside, we went to Idlewild,
Yeah. I had you guys walking on. Kelly is very tall, and so Kate is pretty tall too. And we built a green screen in my living room.
Oh gosh, I forgot about that.
And I needed a shot of them, and it's in the movie, and nobody would ever know. The camera's like passing in front of stuff because you're just seeing shadowy bits and pieces of the house, and we couldn't get it to work. So I'm like, you guys.
I was too tall for the green screen.
And also, even the stuff.
Kelly, I understand. I feel you.
You know, it's trick photography. So Kelly and Kate, who plays her sister, they had to walk on their knees in front of the green screen. I move the camera in front.
Oh my gosh!
You would never have known. No.
That's what sticks out to me. That one, and then when we shot with Chris Pennick.
No, I was gonna say what sticks out to me is I was very worried. I mean, I don't think I'm giving anything away from a movie that's been out for many years now, but there's the part where I go after him with the knife, right?
Yes.
And in my head, I'm like, I'm gonna kill Chris Pennick. Like, this is not. I was so worried about hurting him somehow.
Yeah.
That's what I remember, just being terrified, because Ansel's like, you need to go like full, this is your like psycho moment, you go full, and I'm like,
oh, psycho moment, love that.
Terrified that I'm gonna like hurt Chris.
Chris was your dad in the second Mabuse film.
I remember.
But there's that relationship, father in one, killing in another. So with this film, I remember listening to the commentary. Now, forgive me, it was months ago. And one of the things that stood out, I want to say, was Kelly said that you had to shoot in out of this whole set, you were in one of the smallest rooms in that set to do all those scenes. So how was that with the close spaces?
Yeah, I feel like Ansel has a much better memory than I do. Weren't Katie and I like in bed together?
Yeah.
Well, that makes it sound different than it was, but there's a scene where we're like,
sleeping, yeah.
And that room is that room is maybe 10 by 10, which is probably a normal size room. But if you have a camera and if you have people and if you have whatever, it becomes a very, very tight space. And so, there was this kind of weird juxtaposition between the location in Riverside, which had the beautiful staircase and the hallways, and we're going down. And then I'm like, Ansel, why do we choose to hole ourselves up in like the tiniest room in this castle? And it's like, well, that's like our home space. Like, it's a huge, nearly empty, partially scary, abandoned location.
Yes.
And the one place that like we've decorated and is homey and feels safe and secure is like this tiny little lair nest that we've made. And that's where we go. And so, yeah, that's where we were. But I just remember being like, and then Nate has to come up across the bed, right? So it's not a difficult movement, but it's a difficult movement to capture on camera in a space where you've got to have depth, and Nate is coming up from below and climbing above, and like, there's not the room.
We gotta light that too, and like
the maneuver.
Yeah, the technicality of lighting it and getting everything in there. But that was a fun movie to make. I think it's a good movie, actually.
It goes very quickly too when you're watching it. It just flows so nicely. The story it tells itself, and it's a really nice contained story.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it was...
And black and white.
Days.
Black and white out there.
Yeah. What I remember actually about that was when we were shooting in the hotel in Riverside, and it is a haunted hotel. And I just kept making up crazy shit and saying, like, there's a man in a top hat down the hall. And Kate was like, I'm not going out of the room. I'm not going. And then we had to, like, film at 3 o'clock in the morning because everybody's asleep at that, so we could run around the hallways and the staircase. And I kept saying, the guy is down at the end.
Yeah, Katie was very easily scared, and Ansel liked to take advantage of that, and did it under the guise of, oh, it'll help the movie. And I'm like, you just want to mess with her.
I was gonna say though, but does that help? Because as an actor, maybe does it actually give you an extra sense of terror? Maybe if you believe someplace is actually haunted, and
it was helpful until there was a part, because there's a scene where Kelly starts to go crazy, and Kate runs away.
Yeah.
So there's this sequence, and Kate is like running, and like the hallways seem to get bigger around her, and it's very like the haunting and stuff. And as we're running past this one room, there's like this couple, and they're having very loud orgiastic sex. And we both stopped. She stopped running, I stopped her, and we both stood there for a minute, and we're just listening, and she's laughing. And so that totally threw out all the horror movie mood.
Yeah, it was hard to be scary after that.
They were very loud. Yeah. But yeah.
So speaking of future cult classics, Loon Lake, I feel like this is another movie that is just destined, if not already, because Ansel, you were saying the last time you were here, like even just everyone was just so excited. And I have to say, you know how to start a movie, because not only does that opening in Loon Lake, but we get a great opening in The Great Nick D as well.
Yeah.
Literally the first bite.
Kelly, you did a great job of freaking everybody out the first day of Loon Lake, or when we like marched down the hill and she just let out this scream, because that the first time we went down, like we told them that like, okay, well, this is what's going to happen. We're just going to work through it where everybody's going to be.
Also, we got to say, like, we shot in Nate's hometown, which is like what, 200,
300, and well, at that time it was like 350 people,
and they're all like super nice farm
and then like
people.
I've known all these people
like,
my whole life, and then like we asked people if they wanted to like come out and help us with the movie, and then like these amazing
also,
people came out to help us.
They know because everybody, as Nate, they all have grown up with this legend of Mary Jane the Witch of so there's this excitement, and there's this, oh wow, we only would be part of it, but they don't understand like the Hollywood side, the filmmaking side of things. So they're there and they're all pumped and like, yeah, we're gonna go down there and we're gonna chop off the witch's head, and then we do it, and Kelly starts to scream, and David starts to, there was a whole speech that got cut, but like everybody just
Kelly's first scream that they did when we came down in the rehearsal, they were all just kind of walking like, oh, this is whatever, and then she screams, and you could see everyone like,
jolts.
Oh, like this is for real. Like it seems like they're actually going to cut her head off. So like after that first initial scream, everybody was like, okay, this is the spot we have to be in, like during this scene, and started with Kelly just belting out her first scream. Shocked them all into the reality of like, oh,
chopping her head off, and she's making all these like violent grunts and so everybody was it
was fantastic.
They were like, oh.
Yeah, so like that piece of wood, me and my dad, the stump. We went out there probably because I went back a couple times to do like location scouting and stuff for Loon Lake, and we put the stump over there maybe 2 or 3 months before we actually filmed and came back to do it. So it was sitting there waiting for us.
It was like July and we shot in September.
Yep. So I went back and was like looking locations, figuring out places to shoot and where we're going to shoot. So me and my dad went out there and found the spot and set up the stump. Yeah. And then we went back later and walked down and did it. Yeah, it was great.
And then we went back a year later for this premiere, and the stump was still there, and like there was greenery that was like growing out of it.
I bet you it's still there now.
I was just going to ask, is the stump there?
I haven't been back for like 4 years, so it probably is.
Watch it become like an iconic place. The stump.
With the
we can give like tours of the location of Loon Lake tour. This is the stump where I got beheaded.
Yep.
Was the church local too? That was
so the church.
Nate, I want to tell this part of the story. I'm sorry.
Please.
So we're relying on Nate to be the local expert because Ansel and I have not been to Round Lake, Minnesota, or the environment. On my shelf over there, I bought from a library the Historic Churches of Minnesota, which has pictures of 300 churches. Many are abandoned. Because I'm like, we have to find a place that's, within a 2 or 3 hour drive of Round Lake to be able to film this scene. And it's got to be a certain way. Like it has to capture the history. It can't be, you know, Nate had some connections with a local church that I think was built in the 50s that, you know, it was just too modern. Like we couldn't convey the historic sensibility. And I'm going crazy with this book and looking up these places online, and we can't find a place and we can't find a place. And then Nate's like, well, you know, 10 minutes down the road, there is this pioneer village and they have a historic church.
Amazing.
When he tells us this, it's like, it was almost just before we left. Like it was super close to the deadline.
Well, I remember I went home
because then Kelly always yells at us because she's smarter than both of us. But she's like, "In what world did you think that? Like, why didn't you tell us this before? I was right there."
Like what's crazy too is because my grandfather moved buildings, and my grandfather actually moved some of the buildings from different areas to this pioneer village in Worthington.
Yeah.
Wow. And I think I was going to fly home, and like we were driving down.
It's a historical preservation
of that era
place.
And I looked over and I'm like,
and perfect for the
movie. God, Pioneer Village. I bet you they have a church. It was like
they had two.
And this is how Nate says it. I bet they have a church. As though, like, and of course it turned out to be perfect and was, you know, the right time period and the right architecture and the right everything for the movie. Literally 10 minutes, and I'm looking at 300 historic abandoned churches and trying to get like Google Map views to see, are they still standing, are they whatever.
And then my English teacher was one of the that I had in high school, was one of the people that like represented Pioneer Village, so I had to talk to her to see if we could get this area,
the location.
But it was super close to like just before we left to go shoot the movie because it was Kelly spent the whole summer looking for churches, and then
with that book.
I have the book right there.
Yeah,
you know what?
That was perfect.
I love this. See, this is the history of the movies.
Yep, she's got it.
All the untold stories, and then they said, you know, you can't have any fire in the there can't be any candles.
Yeah,
and we burned the church down in the movie. There's
If ever you think I just make things up for the story, like
beautiful.
this is the book. You can see all the little like post-its that I had marked. This, an illustrated guide. This is what I'm looking at for months.
So now my question is, was the church in the book?
No!
Wow.
Yeah.
What are the...
And then especially, and what was crazy too is that night we needed lightning. Yeah. We didn't know how we were going to have lightning, and it was pouring, and it like rained that night, and we got all this real lightning shots. Yeah. And I'm sitting out there when it was raining after lightning struck like right outside the.
We were shooting a scene between David and Catherine.
Yes.
And David, you know, I don't believe in God, and he's throwing the cross on the stuff and all this. And all of a sudden, in the middle of the scene, and it's also on the Blu-ray, lightning struck right outside, and like the ground, like it was violent. And Catherine goes, "This is because of all the blaspheming that's going on."
Yeah.
And then we kept filming. We just kept going.
And then later, I was out there with an umbrella underneath the camera, like getting lightning shots.
So all those shots that you see in the movie, that's genuine lightning.
Real lightning that stormed that night.
Yeah,
we got so lucky in that movie. Of like that
we didn't die from electrocution.
So we didn't die multiple times.
That too.
But we needed the ambiance. We needed like those scenes, and it rained on the day, so we needed it to rain. Like it was nice on the days we didn't need it. Like,
no, that worked. But also with the fire, because we had to burn the church down, and we couldn't have candles. We couldn't have.
Yeah.
So we made a firebox. Is what
made
we
a
called
firebox and lit some stuff on fire for when David like goes down in flames.
We did it anyway.
It looks great. It looks great.
Kelly's not going to remember this, but it cracked me up because we're in like June when she's still trying to find a church and stuff, and she's like, "I can't find any church. I don't know what to do, but I found the Judy Garland Museum in North Minnesota."
You're right. I don't remember that at all.
I say because it cracked me up. I have the email. She's like, "We should go, but it's too far." And
we didn't make a trip.
We did not go to the Judy Garland Museum.
We didn't.
But it's I love that, by the way. For the sequel. See, you got to go back now. And again, from the first talk I had with Ansel, how things lined up for him, I feel like it almost sounds like this with Nate and like your grandfather worked on the church and the land, and it sounds like, and the thunder now and the lightning, like it almost is these things that are just, it's meant to be, it's lining up in the universe or whatever.
Yeah, it was very amazing how that did happen. Of like, we got very lucky at different times. We were like, wow, this feels like we're supposed to be making this. Where like we did have the real rain for when I ran out of the house.
Get stuck in the rainstorm.
Get stuck in the rainstorm. So we were like, let's go film this quick. We did do some fake rain for a little bit of it, but it worked.
Even the graveyard, because when we went to the graveyard, because we went there a couple times, but round one of the graveyard, it was all overgrown and had all the, in decay. And then
the second time
we went back to film the epilogue, which was also longer and got cut, it was all mowed and everything had been cleaned up. So it was like,
wow, they're on it.
Time had passed.
Well, yeah, but
they're not on it. That's the thing. They were never on it.
And then they were on it the week
the time
2 weeks we were there.
Yeah.
And it was like within a 3-day range because we shot, the when he it goes over the grave. That was and then we have to film the ending because David, he had to be the Emery, the farmer, before he transitions over to the past stuff. So, but yeah, it was like 3 days in between, and they mowed the graveyard, and so now it looked like time had passed in the graveyard, and it was.
Which was not our intention, but we had to make it work.
But we had to make it work, because we wanted it to work that way. But it did.
It did. But when we showed up and it's been mowed, you should have seen
we
like
freaked out. We're like, how did they mow this? What did they do? It looks so beautiful, and now it looks mowed.
There were so many things about that I would say were serendipitous, but over and above that, I mean, no matter what we go on to do in our lives together and apart, sorry, now I'm going to get, there will never be another, that will always be the best movie that we ever made because of Nate's connection to that place and how they welcomed us. And everything that happened, and just like Marv. And there were so many things about just being there that were so special and wonderful that you would never have that in a Los Angeles filming experience.
Mm-hmm.
They were unique to that place and to Nate's history. And like, we couldn't have planned, we planned so much of it. We couldn't have planned the serendipity, but it's like, we could never replicate that. I mean, that was like lightning in a bottle. Yeah, lightning literally on the church that,
literally, yes.
with the lights and everything else. But,
I mean, everybody was so excited. So excited and they for us to be there, wanted to help. Like, just to get the truck out there I'm not giving anything away when I get into the accident.
Yeah.
Like, Kelly painted the truck. We found a truck. I knew a guy that lived up the road from where I grew up, and he owned a salvage yard. So he brought this truck that we painted and that we found in a salvage yard out there for us and put it in the ditch. And
it was also missing the
engine and the hood.
Yeah. So then to get these shots where we had the camera in the back seat and Nate's freaking out in the front and Kelly's climbing up into the broken windshield, like we couldn't have done that if the engine and the hood were there.
Yeah.
And yet, that's just, a small thing that nobody would think about.
But we didn't even think about, because we were like, all right, how are we going to shoot this? But then we got there and we noticed what was all there and asked some people, and they did a bunch of stuff and brought out this truck, put it in the ditch for us, like took it out. We
the
painted
windshield's
it.
All shattered. We put the blood all over that. Like, it looked perfect.
Crazy.
And then everybody in the town is like all standing on the road watching us film it.
It was nuts.
And
it had to have been so exciting. I remember you saying the last time the crowds that were gathering and the new local newspaper, right?
Yeah, they came.
Yeah. We were front page news.
Big news.
We did a scene.
Southern Minnesota.
We did a scene. Some of it's still in the movie, but his dead wife is laying in the crossroads of the town.
Oh yeah.
And Kelly was like creeping down the street towards him, and Nate comes and he rescues her. And you only get a glimpse. A lot of it got cut. But like I remember when we were shooting that, like everybody was there was at the barbecue, and then at the other building, and they're all like taking pictures on their phone.
Yeah, and then
so there's all these like TMZ style photos of us, and then, like shooting the movie in the street.
And of course, blocked off, like nobody comes through that town very rarely, as you see. Like when we go up the street from the bar to the restaurant, nobody's in the town.
Yeah.
But of course, once you push record anywhere you're at in LA and anywhere, people come. So like we started pushing record.
Signal.
And all of a sudden, like nobody's in this town. All of a sudden, there's cars starting to drive around us. So we had to stop some cars. So like I could run down the street and like
yeah. So we blocked off the streets
for a little bit,
as much as we could. And there was another, the bar too. And again, serendipitous things. There was a bar in town that we thought about, and then Nate didn't like it. And so when we got there, we were there. We were just like exploring the town. And Nate's mom's like, "Oh, let's go to the Legion." And so we go to the Legion, and that's the location we use in the film. And all around the walls are all these pictures of loons and birds. And we didn't set that up. It was like perfectly art decorated for the movie. So it was just like, of course we had to shoot in there. Like, there's a reason why that bar didn't work out. Because it was supposed to be at
the Legion. Yeah. Like, I don't know why I never thought of this place until we got there, and it was like, oh my God, the Legion would be perfect. Like, it's even
the same reason you didn't think of the Pioneer Village Church.
Oh yeah, exactly.
These ideas, they're brilliant. They just have to come out later on.
At the right time. They're just waiting.
Yeah.
So I feel like Kelly set up this next set of questions perfectly with her statement about working together. So since the three of you have worked together now on countless projects, what are some of the now this is all positive, but are there challenges to working with people you're such close friends with, and does it change anything on set, or have you gotten to a part that you're just, we go on set, this is what we're going to do, and that's it?
Well, there's always, it's a little bit of both, because there's always arguments. There's always going to be like, this is what we think, this is what the next one thinks. That's why
there's all very high-strung people with our own opinions.
That's why there's three of us. So it's always like a vote of like, if me and Ansel have a disagreement about Kelly something, referees. I'm always like, all right, we got to send it to Kelly. She's the say, all right, Kelly, this is what's going on. What do you think about this? And whatever she kind of says is like, all right, that's what we're doing. But
but I think that
no matter what.
It's kind of a case of, even when we vehemently disagree about things, which we sometimes do, like sometimes it's silly stuff, sometimes it's significant issues.
Yes.
But I can't really think of an example where the end product isn't better than what each of us individually had conceptualized or advocated for.
Wow.
So kind of through this and something better emerges kind of as a result, if it's either, creatively or practically. A lot of times we kind of have to practically come up with a solution for either, maybe we couldn't afford a specific thing or whatever, and we've got to come up with a practical way to handle it.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
By kind of, working through whatever emerges ends up kind of being better than maybe what was originally envisioned. So it's
beautiful.
Yeah.
I
think you're always going to have differences, because I think
also, like, because Loon Lake, we didn't have that many disagree, or we were all kind of on the same page with that one, because that one was really like an adventure for all of us.
Yeah, and
even though Nate grew up there, but that was like,
drove cross country.
It was a whole thing.
Yeah,
and so there was never any point where we were always disagreeing.
It was always the end was finding the right spots, the right people to work on it, and how can we do it for the budget and for the price more than anything. Yeah. And if there was not too many disagreements there of like, all right, what about this place? Well, this place really didn't work out. What about another place? And how can we find that place? Or
and location. Then
I can prove that there were disagreements. Hold on a sec.
I love that Kelly is ready.
Oh my God. Hold on. Sorry. Hold on.
This is typical Kelly.
Sorry.
Everything's just.
Oh yeah. Oh, there it is. Yeah, there were.
But I will say, not to the extent as like where we had some disagreements on Nick D. Like Nick D, we had some.
Well, there were, and I think still are substantive disagreements on Nick D. But This
Still
can you do the voice, Nate?
I don't remember the voice.
Sure you do.
I can do the voice.
What was it?
I can do the voice because it was always aimed at me. Ansel says, Ansel something.
Right?
And usually it was because I would bring up Witchfinder General or some shit like that.
Yeah.
There wasn't a lot of time about Witchfinder General.
When we were doing the movie Loon Lake, at a certain point I was told we wanted to have, I don't want to say Easter eggs, but like kind of subtle things decorating places or whatever. And I had found this bird somewhere and his head moves. And when we would disagree on something, or, you know, Ansel's references are not the references that Nate and I can appreciate. So if you're going to call out 1972, Vincent Price, whatever, you know, not my thing. So we would be like, Ansel says...
And then whatever, and then we would shake it, or then we would point no or yes. Yeah.
The upside to that, then we're editing, because that movie was a long time to edit. And we had Robert Hoffman was our co-editor on the film. And it was like an inquisition in front of the computer. So me and Robert were like, you know, hands-on, like doing the editing, and then Nate and Kelly would be over here and they'd be talking or complaining of, you know, disagreeing on what's being cut and stuff. And Robert and I, because Robert is a Dark Shadows fan, he and I got very like in-depth geek. And I remember one point I'm like, you can't cut the seance to go to the tower room. Like, that's not going to make sense if this happens in the bar. And both of them are just like, what are you talking about? And Robert goes, you're right. And then he like makes a whole editing adjustment, and they're sitting there just totally out in the dark. But then the scene worked better because we can use these references that, you know, the other two haven't heard of to improve the flow of the film. So I don't want to hear any
talk about how Witchfinder General made our movie better, Ansel.
It did.
It was that Pioneer Church.
Yeah,
it was.
My grandfather bought him.
So, I mean, it sounds like you have a lot of fun, but my next question was going to be, do you have a moment on set that you can just remember, either just laughing continuously that you had to stop filming, or was it involving this duck, this bird?
Laughing.
We didn't do much laughing on Nick Day.
It was fun.
It was fun. It was a fun shoot, but it wasn't like Loon Lake where there was like moments where it was just like ridiculously funny. And I think also it's because Loon Lake, it's a supernatural film, so you're not dealing with, you know, reality. You're not dealing with, you know, this guy that's brokenhearted over his girl and trying to, you know, get his life back together.
And that too, like we were shooting in a location for 20 some days, and like with Nick D, there's a lot more stress on it because
6-7 months.
Yeah, 6 months that like I'm working in between. We're setting up all this stuff. Like
we're dealing with locations.
We're dealing with casting. We're dealing with a lot of stuff going on. And then we're halfway through and we're like, oh, this is going pretty well. We need to keep going on this track, if not keep getting better. So now once you're making this movie and scenes are going well, scenes are going funny, we're getting these great casts, and like now we have to keep on this train to make it keep getting better. Because now it's like if we screw up one day, that's going to screw the movie over. Yeah. So now this adds a little bit of pressure or not, but kind of having that long of thing is,
I think sometimes things were funny after the fact that maybe weren't funny in the moment that they're happening. So one thing that I remember being funny after the fact, but was not funny while it was happening at all, was the altar scene in Loon Lake.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, yeah, Loon Lake was, I thought you meant Nick D, where it was like things.
Oh, in general, just over your course of, just over the course of your working together.
There's this scene where the guys like to do this. They'll write something. It's written. They wrote it for me to do, and I'm going to do it. And yet somehow when it comes about, it's either...
I'm going to tell it because, you know, we were on the other end of the we were on the receiving end, if you want to use that phrase.
I don't want to use that phrase.
I know. But it's the scene where, you know, Mary Jane and Lewis have their confrontation, so to speak, and she has to get naked and rub loon blood all over her.
Yes.
And so it's Kelly and it's me and it's Nate, and we've all known each other now for a really long time. We're this very screwed up family, but so now Kelly has to derobe in front of us, and
Not
it was,
something
she,
Kelly
she
ever
did that.
wanted.
She had like flesh colored underwear, and she had like these.
Oh,
these
good.
things
Okay,
and
good.
stuff. So it wasn't,
That's good.
but it's the idea, and
Of course.
so we, me and Nate are at the camera, and we're getting first Kelly's master, where you're seeing her, screwing around at the altar and stuff, and then she drops the robe, and Kelly just drops the robe, and me and Nate go.
We're all like, oh,
okay, she did it. Like, this is but like, that's the start. Like, now we have to actually get into the scene. Now she's got to, turn around, and she's got to put all the blood and stuff. And so Nate's not really acting in moments. His eyes are really big in the scene. There's terror and stuff. And like, even like, and Kelly's like, am I doing it right? And she's like, not making a big deal out of it. And then she's asking me stuff, and I'm like, it's good. And then we had David Karen, our sound guy, who's just like very chilled out, could not give a shit about anything. And Kelly says something to him of like, there's no going back or whatnot. And he's like, I've seen everything, girl. Like, he couldn't care less. But then she's got to put the blood on, and me and Nate got into this yelling match. Because the light is going down. Like, we're trying to get this at sunset. It's supposed to be a very
sun's going,
moment.
and now that's starting to get red, and then it's setting, and then I'm like walking away and running.
And we're at the last moment. We're at the last moment. Like, we already got. She's covered in blood. She's placed the curse on him, and we're losing the light. And like, it's in 3 minutes, it's going to be nighttime. We're going to lose the light. And Nate goes, well, I'm going to get her a blanket. I'm like, fuck the blanket! Like, we're almost done. Just get it. And she's like, and Kelly's just standing there covered in blood, half naked. And but I want to get the blood. And we have this whole like back and forth, wasting time. And I'm like, just stand there, just do the scene and walk around and stuff. And we have all this. It's recorded. It's on sound. We've got the footage of it.
Yeah. So the part that wasn't funny at the time is, in the month that we were in Minnesota, there was a significant temperature differential.
Ooh.
When we got there were days when it was in the 90s, and then there were times when it was in the 30s.
Yeah, and it went like in the span of a week too.
Yeah. So I'm standing there without clothes on, covered in blood, and it's getting down into the 30s. And Nate, who, Nate is kind of like everybody's big brother and like wants to make sure you're okay, and he wants to get me this blanket. And I'm standing there freezing, listening to the two of them argue about whether or not he can go get this blanket.
I was like, it only take a minute. Just let me go.
Also, we're literally, it's the last shot. Like, if he stands there, she's placed the curse on him, and then he turns around and goes, we're done. We could have
been done in the time that they argued about the blanket.
So I'm like, just forget the blanket. Let's just get it. Because I'm already uncomfortable about her standing there half naked, and like, we've been through this whole thing. Let's just be done with it. Well, no, let me get her the blanket. By the time you walk to the car, through the woods, to the car where we parked, find the blanket, come on back. Like, let's just be done. I want out of here. And that's not on the Blu-ray, but it was amusing after the fact.
Yeah.
And then I think there is a photo you have. She's wrapped the blanket and covered in blood, or all like grinning. Yeah. But like,
I got her the blanket
at the end.
Eventually,
I got
the shot.
We got the shot. We got it.
We're done.
Eventually, I got the blanket.
Yeah.
What a professional.
There was nothing like that on Nick D, or but let's
yeah.
No.
So there you go.
So just for our listeners, so if they can just get to know you better with your taste, again, we are a nostalgia show. So I wanted just to ask you all a few little questions about different little things. So do you have a favorite TV theme song?
WKRP in Cincinnati.
Oh, that's really good.
Baby, if you've ever wondered whatever became of me, I'm living on the air in Cincinnati, WKRP.
Also, and I was not expecting you to say that, so that's amazing.
Well, what people might not be familiar with, because the TV theme song is just the first verse. there is a full-length song, and the second verse, which people are not familiar with because it was not included in the show, it's a heartbreaking, very deep and meaningful song. And one of the lines is, because it's whatever, baby, if you've ever wondered whatever came of me, I'm living on the air in Cincinnati, whatever, he moved to Cincinnati, town to town, up and down the dial, whatever.
I love it.
The price for finding me was losing you. Like, I mean,
unrequited love. See, that's that theme.
Yeah.
Heartbreak. I love that you just said that, Kelly. I love that. That show doesn't come up often, so I'm thrilled.
Yeah.
Nate, Ansel.
You go.
Go ahead. I'm still thinking. I have no clue.
Not quite a theme song, but the songs in Bob's Burgers.
Okay, look at you. Modern. You've gone modern on us.
Yeah, I don't know who's speaking right now.
Bob's Burgers is my therapeutic show. When after Kelly is done grilling me over whatever I've done wrong on the day of the set, I can go home and
weeps and
I can watch Bob's Burgers,
and ice cream and popcorn.
Yeah.
Oh man, I can't really think of anything. Game of Thrones?
That's a I guess.
Okay, I have to disagree with you.
I don't even know. So it's a song? You're looking for a song?
Like,
yeah,
Cotter.
I mean, theme song, but I mean, if you have a favorite.
Like, this is the thing. Like, back in the day, this is one of my complaints about modern television. Like, back in the day, there was a theme song. Right now, people apparently, who have these devices, you don't have a theme song because people can just skip through it. They're not going to pay attention to it. Yeah. I want to have a show that has a theme song that people are not going to skip through. Like, I want to bring back the 1970s theme song. Like you said, Welcome Back, Kotter. Like even Family Ties, and I didn't like that song, but that's like a
but they had at least one.
That's the Alan Thicke, the Alan Thicke written theme song. What's the one with Kirk Cameron that wasn't Family Ties? Growing Pains, like those ones that are that kind of song.
Friends. So there's a song on Friends.
Yeah, Friends.
Hold on. Where, when are you hanging on the chow line? Good times. Good times. Anytime you meet a payment. Good times. Anytime you meet a friend. Good times. Anytime you're out from under. Not getting hassled. Not getting hustled. That song. I mean, good Lord. Like, that's
Good Times is great.
Yeah, heyday. I mean, that's a statement about America at the time that it was written. Nobody else is hanging in a chow line. I mean, come on.
No,
good times. Anytime you meet a payment.
It's so
good times. Anytime you meet a friend. Anytime you're out from under. Not getting hassled. Not getting hustled. Like, this is a statement about America at the time, and that's like what don't give me the Game of Thrones bullshit.
There's another answer, not from a theme song, but the Dreams Do Come True from Great Nick D. Our musical numbers.
Oh, what?
Oh, yeah.
That's a song. That's a theme song.
Yes.
That's a theme song.
Bring it back.
And what a way to end the movie, too, with that song.
Yes.
Because Ansel, you had mentioned that you were working on a musical sequence, but when it actually happened, I was just I'm blown away.
Yeah, like so we wrote the lyrics a long time ago, 3-4 years ago now.
Because when we were writing it, I'm like, this because there's all these scenes. Not many of them ended up in the final thing, but there was stuff where Nick is playing guitar and he's singing, this is not a Nick Dick song, this is an all those song. So there was a musicality was kind of already part of the world. And we were writing it, and I'm like, Nate, this is that we got to do a musical. There's a musical number in this movie. Like it's
in one of the versions, like where he was down on his luck walking on the beach. We were going to have him on the pier, and he's drinking, and he falls off the pier.
Yeah,
and then he goes into this like musical number where he's under the water, but he goes into this like dream musical of everybody. But then we moved it to the ending, and. Yeah,
it was like 8.5 where all the characters come back and they were all going to dance, holding hands on the beach.
That would be great.
And there was just a lot of schedule coordinating. So then
Ansel came up with the idea of let's just film everybody doing this song.
because I'm like, we got this musical thing now. It's happening like,
and so
I'm doing
another. He's not my cousin, but he's my cousin through the other side of the family, whatever.
Not my cousin.
It's as complicated as Kelly's multiple last names. Like,
so I call him my cousin.
No one will ever understand.
His name's Josh Kapp, and he's very musically inclined, and he knows of the character. His brother's the one that I kind of shot some stuff with Nick D before I kind of met Ansel that we had, and so he knew of Nick Dick. So I sent him this. Or sent him the lyrics and stuff, and we were like, "Can you make us a song, Jimmy Buffett, Beach Boys type of vibe?" And within 24 hours, this was probably this was even before we started shooting.
Yeah, because we needed it
last May.
We needed
probably
it.
A year ago.
We needed it because as we would shoot, we would have to have this song be performed. Yep.
So at the end of the day, we would like shoot a couple of this stuff, and do it. And within like 24 hours, he brought us back because me and Ansel were down in the playground with my son. We were playing, and he sent it to me, and he's like, "Here it is. This is what I'm thinking." And I'm like, "Oh man, Ansel, here it is." So we played it, and we were like, "Oh my God, this hits every note and feeling of who Nick
and the sounds
and the sound, the vibe, the feel of just." And then he sent us lyrics with him singing it later. And
it was like the demo track basically.
It was great. And then he added more on later and added more stuff to it. But it was like, this is amazing. This like sets the tone now for the movie, so we can show this and have people listen to it of like, this is what the feel of this movie is going to be. And then at the end of this, we're going to shoot this and we're going to do a little musical number and dance and have some fun. We can break the fourth wall. And that kind of set the tone for the whole movie. That was a year ago. Probably we did that.
And you recorded it in the car.
And then, the first day,
a contained sound environment. So,
So the first or second day, probably the first day, I went out to the car because we didn't know, all right, where were we going to shoot it? I tried to hit up a buddy who had like a sound like room that he couldn't do it that day. So I was like, well, let's go to a car. I listened to it. And then our sound guy at the time, we did like 3 or 4. And I just kind of sang it and did it, whatever. And we got it, sent it to him, and he mixed it in. And then there it was.
We need the single now. The release of the single.
We're gonna get that on
like,
Spotify.
I'm just Ken,
Yep,
exactly. A tie-in, right? That would be wonderful. Because I really... Again, it is a beautiful way to remind you about the character, his journey, see these amazing, fun characters that you had seen throughout the entire movie. And it ends again on this happy, over the top, like, out of everything, that would be like this grand musical. So,
let's end it on a high note. Let's end it on a happy note.
Yeah.
Everything's going to be fine. He's doing great. He's doing well. Or not. We'll see.
And that's kind of it ties into what I said a couple minutes ago about like Nick's life wasn't what he planned, wasn't what he wanted, wasn't what he strove for. These things happened. And yet in the end result was better than what he had set out to do. So.
Yeah.
I just have to say, if there's ever a sequel, I would love to see these characters again. So if you're ever thinking about a sequel, please consider it, because
we've considered it. And thought about what it would be. Yeah. So we have it in there. It just has to. We'll see what happens within the first 3 or 4, 5, 6 months or so of this being out there in the world.
Yeah. There's one thing that we wanted to do in this one, which was in Venice, we have the Speedway. It's kind of like an alleyway street hybrid. And we always said that Nick has the Dickmobile. And it's this limo. It's like covered in leopard print and stuff, but it's all
amazing.
There.
Yeah, like
and it's under a sheet somewhere, like the Batmobile, like under an apartment garage and stuff. And he's broke, so he's got to get it fixed. But
one day I went to the beach and I saw this leopard print limo.
Yeah.
And I was like, no way. And I turned and I sent the picture of this car to Ansel. I was like, dude, imagine if we had this, and like in the next one, he like unveils it outside of his place, and he's going to get it
yanks
fixed
the sheet
up.
off.
He's finally got some money to fix up his
Dickmobile
limo leopard limo that he drives around.
He's upgraded from the Razor scooter to the limo,
limo.
And Aldo would probably drive it.
Maybe. Or he's my passenger. I don't know if I want him driving me around. I'd be sitting there cruising, top down, sunglasses on, piecing everybody that went by.
So that's a sequel element for sure.
Yeah, that's one. That would
Really look forward to it. I look forward to this Blu-ray, which everybody, it is out on June 11th.
June 11th.
June 11th.
Exclusively on Blu-ray and DVD, not streaming. You cannot stream this movie.
I want people to actually purchase the physical release.
Yes,
it's 2 discs, so you get a Blu-ray, you get a Blu-ray that's got hours of special features, and then you get a DVD that has some special features, but you get it all in one package. And
so for when we decided that we were going to do this ourselves, we sent it off to this producer that likes producing TV shows for some notes.
You did House of Lies.
House of Lies, I believe. And he probably doesn't even know that we made this. Well, he would never know that we made this. But like, he liked the script, but he said, people don't make these type of movies these days. So if you're going to do it, you need to do it independently or find a way. So we were trying to find money, and in the end, we couldn't. We were like, we need to make this. Now is the time to do it. Let's go do it. So we put our money together and went out and made this thing. So
because they don't make comedies anymore. They don't,
or this type of comedy about this type of person that's just,
But even like, because we watched Horrible Bosses not too long ago, and we're like, they don't make these movies. You don't see these things in theaters anymore. It's a superhero or an action.
Yeah. So
truly.
And with streaming, you don't really make too much money, so it's like we need the physical copy, physical demand to like come back to help out the independent filmmakers. So,
and then you have it for all time. No streamer can take it away from you.
Yep.
That is the most important thing.
30 minutes of deleted footage and behind the scenes and interviews and
something. Yeah, if you bought it on Apple or did whatever, you could lose it. Yeah, exactly. You'll have it forever.
I always say that on this show that please buy physical when you can. Of course, support the artist, and that could be taken away, like you just said, in moments. Just like Kelly earlier said, they don't make TV shows with themes anymore. It's true. They add things to streaming and they take it away, and you can't find it anymore.
Yeah,
so
you're right.
Definitely pick up the physical release. Now, is it going to be available on Amazon like usual?
Yeah, Amazon, Best Buy, Walmart, Barnes and Noble.
Ooh. Best Buy too. Wow.
Yeah, so kind of anywhere
where you get DVDs, Blu-rays.
You can get it through there.
Diabolic DVDs should have it. All of them, all the main where you go get your physical
wherever you
media.
want to get your physical media, you'll be able to go online and find it.
You can get all our others on physical media.
Yes, the collection.
We never talked about Todd Tarantula, where Nate turns into a lizard and Kelly was in the past with David Selby, but yeah.
All the goodies. We don't need to see them all.
I'm going to show them. I don't care. The Nighttime Winds.
He's got his time.
Yeah. Rising Light never came out before.
Which is 10th anniversary, right? Just came out.
We said we were never going to release this movie, and now it's out.
But then we stopped. But it was actually better than we remembered it.
Yeah, it was an experiment.
And then where it all started with Maboose.
Yeah.
Oh, the classic.
The classic.
Truly.
It's crazy. That's where it began. I was talking about Nick Dick or this movie to Ansel at that time.
Well, even when we were shooting Maboose 1, Laura Parker was, and Nate was showing her footage of him running around on the
razor scooter, on like all of that, in that same outfit. I was showing her when we were shooting Dr. Maboose of like, I got this character. He's a washed up porn star.
I think even showed her the porn trailer too, and she liked that.
Yeah.
She's like, you guys got to do something with that.
And actually, thank you, because that's one of the things I had wanted to ask earlier. Is this her final film performance?
Yeah. It was 3 months before she passed.
Yep.
And she was all eager and excited to do it too.
Yeah, and she did such an amazing job in that as well. We went up to her place to shoot it. Like, we went in her bedroom while she was kind of getting ready to go over the scenes and doing, talking to her about the character, my character, what's going on, and how we've been shooting, and just running lines with her. And then, we shot the scene, and
she had fun.
She had a lot of fun. Glad we got her in the movie.
She gave us notes too, which was typical.
Yeah. She was like, I still don't know if they're like, what's the moral drive and what's the through line? I'm like, we've already shot like half of this. We this, and like everything is there now. So yeah, we have that down now. So we just need to but she was still asking about it and making sure that everything was together.
And her scene, I really feel like, again, it goes back to heart. Right at the end, you get this heartfelt conversation with the characters. And so that's just, as a fan of hers, it's a beautiful tribute and a way to remember her. So that's especially for Dark Shadows fans, that's another, just a highlight, I feel like.
Yeah. She was great. She had fun and she looks good. And she got lit and everything, because on Maboose we didn't have any lights, so she was very like, do you have lights?
Yeah, we had lights. We had like a real
hey,
cinematographer.
We have a crew now. We have
like an amazing camera.
We're not in a garage.
Lenses.
We've got the whole deal now.
Yeah, great sound people to work with, and shoot it very well. Make sure it's going to look beautiful.
Yeah, she's like, with the script. Yeah, that's Laura, the writer in her.
Can we expect something soon from the three of you, or have you begun thinking of any future plans, or is it, I mean, I'm sure it's ongoing, right? But
there's some stuff that's ongoing, but like now, unless like to try to get money, it's tough to get money from people that make films unless you're like blowing up. So we're always trying to do that. We're always trying to find the next project. We don't know for sure yet what the next project will be, but
we got a couple in the iron. Frying pan.
We just got to see what pans out.
Yeah.
I just have to say that all of you, are just, it touches my heart, because Ansel talking with his story growing up, and, for anyone who has a dream and a passion to do something, and to see how all three of you have done this, it's truly inspiring for, someone who has dreams of doing this or that, so it's just a beautiful testament of your passion that you have continued to make these films, and they're just getting better and better and better. So I think the future is, I'm excited for the future, and I want people to buy this movie, please, and support these amazing people, because I think they have just brilliant ideas that are just waiting to come, and I know I would love to see them. So
yes, well, thank you. Yeah, we appreciate that. I mean, we've been going at it for a long time, and just little by little, every movie, I always say I would just want each one to be better the next one that we make. Maybe better camera, better whatever, sound, lights, I don't know, and just the next one always ups itself, that we continue to keep moving up instead of backwards. So that's the trajectory hopefully we keep going on.
Just last takeaway you just want audiences to know about the film?
This was a huge passion project for me that I've been looking forward to shooting, and just seeing it out there and watching the movie and sitting in a festival that we got in. My mom and dad were there, and to like have everybody there to see this movie, it just meant a lot to me.
We won Best Feature Comedy.
Yeah.
We got nominated for Best Picture with it. O-Lan won Best Supporting Actress, and she said, this is my first acting award I've ever had in my career, which was kind of cool for our movie.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yep. So it's just great to see that we actually did go through with this and made this movie that, if you're out there and don't think you can do it, you can. So just go out there and do it and make it yourself if you have to, and just get better and better. And it's hard to do that sometimes, but you just got to stick to your guns and know you can do it and just go.
Live your dream.
Yeah.
Yep.
Don't let yourself quit. Never.
Beautifully said. Yes. Radical Ones, please look for the great Nick D. I will be posting it when it comes out. I'll post it on our and that beautiful cover. Yeah. I'll post it on our socials, of course, our stories, wherever this video is. We'll have it in the description. Please check it out. I am just honored and thrilled to have all three of you here. So thank you again for taking the time to come on our little show.
Well, thank you.
Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you so much. Okay, Radical Ones, we will see you every Friday with a new episode. I'm not sure when exactly this is airing, but before June, hopefully beginning of June. So we will see you then, and thank you all again.
Thank you.